Alright guys, welcome back to the channel, welcome back to another video. We're going into the legendary GT Goku event, and we are taking one half of the year 3 EZA LRs, which is the INT Super VEGITO, and it is their turn. They are up to bat. It is them versus the legendary GT Goku event. And I'm looking forward to this. I'm not gonna lie, I'm looking forward to this. When you have these type of stats at the start of turn, then doing this event for them should generally be pretty easy, I'm not gonna lie. We have a few stackers with us like Vegex, Kefla. I've even brought EZA VB. I've brought the OG Year 5 LR VEGITO. And the reason why I've done that is, one, I'm bringing the 180 Patara lead, just to bring it, because I haven't actually used his 180 lead yet, which is obviously it's not quite 200%, but it's still a very good boost. Not to mention as well, you know, rather than bringing 200% leads in an event that's kind of built around 170s and partially 150s, 200%, especially bringing these guys on the 200% lead team, would be incredibly easy. We've also got a friend one as well, which I didn't actually expect to find. The only difference between mine is level 10 links, so mine will perform slightly better, but I think for the majority, I'm probably going to keep the friend one on rotation at some parts, or probably for the majority, I'm not gonna lie, just because, you know, why not? But I'm not gonna lie, I'm really looking forward to it, because as you see at the start of the turn, you know, they have a ridiculously high attack stat, like 500k, and Super VEGITO starts with just over 200k defense. 200k defense at the start of turn is very juicy, especially in an event like this. In Red Zone is decent, but obviously you need way more defense for you to even be, you know, relatively okay, you know, even after you super. But just over 200k defense in an event like this that gradually gets harder, he's starting off very good, and I'm completely here for it. Because not to mention, he's going to be raised, well, at least before they actually fuse into Super VEGITO, they're going to be raising their attack and defense on their 12 key and their 18 key. Of course, while they do benefit from picking up Rainbow Key Spheres, you know, they get an extra key +2, we're not always going to get the orbs we're exactly looking for. I mean, for the majority of the time with these, you're probably going to be getting their 12 key off, which is not a bad thing, because, you know, they're still putting out some pretty decent attack stats. I mean, we've got 360 at the start of time. We're going to get it now, which is good, but over an 830k attack stat before we've even supered. I mean, even though the majority of the time, as I said, you're not always going to be getting their 18 key off, just because, you know, while they do get extra key per rainbow keys for obtained, you know, they're not, obviously they're not in the same positions as like the LRSSJ4s or the EZA SJ4s from year 4, where they're literally just getting just an abundance of key just from all over the shop. But, you know, as I said, it's not really too bad. Yes, you're missing out on a little bit of damage, and the damage output is still decent on a 12 key anyway. But yeah, you'll be missing out on a little bit of damage, which is kind of frustrating, but for the most part, the important part is they're going to be raising their attack and defense on both, and the specific important part is they're raising their defense. So that's kind of the important part. I'm actually tempted to keep Vegex on rotation, but my guy's kind of struggling for key for a little bit. So maybe I'm not going to have... Yeah, no, I don't think I'm going to have the friend one on rotation, just so, you know, the Vegex can actually somewhat stack. Because while I did bring them to kind of make sure that we're kind of in the event a little bit longer, we're not doing too much damage, we actually take a little bit of damage ourselves, because I want to get the fusion off. You know, I know we've already done a showcase, we know what they can do, etc., all those type of things. I still want to get the fusion off here to show what that side of their kit does, what Super VEGITO does in this event, not just them. Because of course, when you bring them not only because they're really good, because obviously they are, but you also bring them because the fact they're going to fuse, because you have that insurance policy of, if you take too much damage, they will 100% heal you to full health, which is such a good thing to have. Such a good thing. I mean, considering how many good teams this Goku and Vegeta go on, how good they are, and again, how good they are defensively, again, just over 200k defense at the start of turn. You know, you may not always get there that often in some of these harder events now. Of course, Red Zone, you definitely will, but still, having that just insurance policy of you will regenerate all your health is a great way at conserving items, especially in a longer event like Goku and Vegeta event, where, yes, you have 2 items, more than Red Zone, but you have 2 items. Once they're gone, they're gone. It's a longer event where you may need to use one a little bit earlier than you want to. You may, you know, It's a longer event, and you know they're gonna stretch you out to make you use those items. I'm not gonna lie, that sounded really weird to say, but you know, that actually generally sounded really weird to say. But stretch out the amount of time, of course, you're actually in the event, you know. So that's also obviously a big help. Whether we're actually going to get the fusion off, I mean, we're kind of on track to doing so. But you know, whether you're doing like a normal run, especially if you know you're taking them on category teams like, you know, Fuse Fighters, you know, Final Trump Card, Pure Saiyans, Kamehameha, Super Saiyans. Whether you actually manage to get them to fuse is a different story, because some of those bigger categories you're going to take them on, you're surrounded by units like the Year 7 LRs, both of them. Who else? You know, LR Nameku, who in a longer event specifically like this, stacks. LR Gohan, stacks. You know, you're surrounded by the Tech Goku and Vegeta, the Strength Goku and Vegeta. You're surrounded by some of the better units in the game. So, you know, whether you actually get them to fuse some of the time when you're taking them in a longer event like this, especially with units that are that good and also stack and things like that, it's kind of a different story. As I said, it's kind of the reason why I've brought some of the units I've actually brought with me. But we're also getting the 18 key off. We also have Typeless Voyage. But the fact that these two have 200% defense at the start of turn is so good. So good. I mean, we kind of saw it when I used EZA SSJ4 Gogeta. Didn't have quite 200k defense. He had almost 200k. Why am I struggling? Almost 200k defense. Yes, he greatly raised attack and defense on super. We're actually been supered now. How much are we taking? I mean, 251, obviously, because we have type disadvantage, but SSJ3 Goku, sometimes on his phase, if you're not careful with the wrong unit, he can catch you out. Because this is where the damage starts to ramp up a bit before Great Ape just takes it to just insane lengths. But, you know, 251k, no item active, super attacked once. So they only raised their attack defense by 30% one time. But had type disadvantage. Taking 250k on a super actually isn't bad without an item while having type disadvantage there. It's not bad. So obviously they're not going to get you killed throughout this. And as I was making the comparison with EZA Tech Gogeta, what I was getting at is that, you know, obviously with him, I can't not give her all of these. It's just kind of, actually, we're not even going to probably super with her, so that's kind of a waste. But, you know, the reason why I made the comparison to him is because he didn't quite have 200% defense. Yes, he greatly raised attack and defense on super, which is huge. But at some points, I was moving Gogeta into slot 1, and he was still tanking really well, even without supering for the turn first. Yes, obviously it was nowhere near as good, because greatly raising your attack and defense is great. But he was still tanking really well, considering I was doing that at like the latter phases of the entire event where, you know, against full power SSJ4 Goku. So having 200k defense at the start of turn is massive, but we got the fusion off. As I said, this is why I brought some of these units to make sure we actually see it. Another thing I've completely forgot to mention, and they did it just a minute ago, is the fact they have a medium chance to dodge, which this is one of the few events you can take advantage of that. So while having such good defense, and also the chance to dodge as well, it makes them a great defensive unit for an event like this, even though they're not going to be taking that much damage, especially once they super. But also being able to dodge as well on like a super against them is great. So, you know, we've got them fused, we've got the full heal, which, as I said, is such a great thing to have, especially in a longer event where you want to conserve items as much as possible. But, like, let's be honest, they're not going to be getting their fusion off at any point in ESBR. Them fusing, if you take them into red zone, is crucial, so you can keep your health up and just, again, conserve that singular item you have. It also works here, considering, you know, you're going to be in here for a long time, you know, you want to stretch the use of your items for as long as possible. That was definitely a better way of saying it, by the way. Compared to stretch out. So yeah, we only have 120. Wait, why is our defense so low? Why's our defense so low? Do we have our defense lowered? Am I missing something? I am going to use our item here. This is typically where you'll use your first item anyway. But one big thing about VEGITO, and this is why he edges it over Gogeta once they fuse. And, you know, my guy's still out here dodging. My guy's still out here dodging, but it's the counters. I'm not actually going to bother with the Dokkan. Actually, no, I'm going to bother with the Dokkan attack. I was thinking in my head, maybe I don't bother, but we've kind of got them fused. We've got the kind of important part out of the way. There's no point dragging out even longer, but the thing that makes the VEGITO edge it more than the Gogeta is the damage reduction. And it's, you know, he has the damage reduction and the counters. So while you want to get the counters off a lot, which, you know, whenever you take Vegito units, you want him to counter. But you can get the counters off with pretty much quite little risk. Yes, you only have the 30% damage reduction for 3 turns. So, you know, maybe you kind of want to, you know, focus on losing your health when you're getting towards maybe a stage where, you know, you kind of want the damage reduction a little bit more, or, you know, it's more needed. You know, that's a little bit easier said than done, but it is possible. You know, maybe use your item a little bit earlier than you wanted to, you know, depending on the event, maybe heal yourself. You know, for the most part, you can kind of here and there work around the fusion mechanic and the HP restoration. You can't, as I said, it's a little bit easier said than done in the most cases, but it is possible. It is possible. So obviously in some areas, you know, to really utilize the 30% damage reduction you only have for what, 3 turns? You probably want to kind of hold off, you know, or try and hold off for as long as possible on getting the fusion off and getting that full HP, you know, restoration, so you can really utilize it. As I said, it's slightly easier said than done, but it can be done. But yeah, as I said, the damage reduction, even though you have the full 30% only for 3 turns, even once you lose the other half, even when you lose the 15%, still having 15% damage reduction. And again, this is kind of speaking of like an ideal rotation where you've got the 18 key, you're going to greatly raise your defense for the turn. You've also got 15% damage reduction. You also counter, which is nice at doing some damage back while not taking all too much. You have attack and defense plus 200% at the start of the turn. Defensively, he is solid. For the remainder of the turn, and there's the 30% dodge coming up big. I'm not gonna lie, for a 30% chance to dodge, it's coming up trumps right now. Like, it is doing bits. So right now we have no item active. We have our 216k defense. Unfortunately, we can't get the 18 key off, although I'm tempted to fuse them now, so I can, but as I always say, once they fuse, they are pretty much built like wet paper. But this is before they super, and they're taking hits from the hardest hitting part of this event. No item active, hardest part of the GT Goku event, 30% damage reduction, just over 200k defense, hasn't even supered, and he's taking double digits, as I said, against the hardest hitting part of the whole event. Kind of on par, if not a little bit less, than full power stage 4 Goku. And he's tanking for double digits, and that's before he supered. Yes, he's got the 30% damage reduction, but this is why he edges it over Super Gogeta, is because of the damage reduction. You know, compared to the strength Super Vegito, because of that damage reduction, even after the 3 turns when you only have the 15%, there is far less risk to get his counters off that you want to do, so you can maximize the possible amount of damage Super Vegito can do in a turn. There is far less risk to do it with these ones compared to the strength one. Like, the strength one can do so much damage, don't get me wrong, especially if you get the counters off, but you're only going to want to do that if an item is active, and depending on the event. Which is why I always say I hope eventually, when them two get their EZA, I hope eventually that they get damage reduction once they fuse into Vegito. Because honestly, that would be ridiculously good. It doesn't even need to be the most damage reduction, but it will make that strength Goku and Vegeta when they fuse into Super Vegito so good. And you're seeing it now with the Int Goku and Vegeta, or the Int Super Vegito specifically. Like, even with 15%, having all that defense, and especially if you get their 18 key off and you greatly raise their defense for the turn, so after they super, especially if you do that and you're taking the attacks after they super, well, in this event specifically, Vegito's going to be taking no damage. On basics, he's going to be taking double digits, obviously, and the best part is you're going to be safely putting out those counters. If you have dupes in him, you're going to be hitting crit counters, which is great. You know, everyone else is performing a little bit better offensively because, of course, he raises all allies' attack by 30% for 1 turn, which it's not going to do too much, but having that support, it's not the best support, but having, you know, a little bit extra offense, having that kind of minor support on the turn, if you get the 18 key off, is quite nice. You know, doing a little bit extra damage on a unit that isn't a support unit, that is literally like a really good EZA that you take into like the hardest events in the game. Having a little bit extra support, a little bit extra offense on all the other units can also be a massive help. You know, where you need it most, you can do a bit of extra damage in red zone, you know, get through it quicker like you want to do, because obviously you want to get in quickly and get out quickly, so, you know, you're not taking ridiculous amounts of damage on supers from like Omega or Broly. Helps here as well, even though of course this is much easier than Red Zone. I'm actually going to get the fusion off. I'm actually going to do it because they link pretty much perfectly together, and I kind of want to have a decent showing of like Vegito at his very best with the Strength Super Vegito. I just have to be kind of careful because again, now the Strength Super Vegito is built like wet paper. Great damage output, but built like wet paper. Yes, his counters are great and the cumulative damage he can do altogether is fantastic, but yeah, built like wet paper. It's going to be very easy to get off his 18 key a lot of the time. Of course, we have the Force the Enemy super attack, which is also good. The friend one's rainbowed and they're going to super. The super attack shouldn't really do too much. They might even dodge. But yeah, no item active, double digits. You know, you get the counters off safely. You're not doing too much damage unless you crit, which is a shame, but some extra damage on top of the amount they can do when supering is you know, you're not going to turn your nose up at that. The initial counter itself isn't too much, but on top of the super attack as well, when you're doing 5.7 mil attack stats, altogether, you're going to be doing some pretty decent I was going to say, for some reason I'm going to say Spanish. You're not going to do Spanish. I don't know why you would start changing the language you speak. But, you know, you can get some extra damage, and there you go. There's the 2.4 mil attack stat. To be fair, he did get an additional and raise his attack and defense as well, which we kind of had the ideal turn there. Because, of course, he didn't get super attacked, even though he would have tanked it well. Got loads of counters off. We greatly raised our defense for the turn, which, as you saw there, we took 9 damage at one point because of the 15% damage reduction and greatly raising our defense on top of all the, like, just over 200k defense we start with. And then we raised our attack and defense on the additional, which means he done a little bit extra. You know, altogether, he's probably done, like, what, just over 7 mil in that turn, which is kind of mad. You know, we got crit counters off, we got crits on the super attacks off, but we also raised our defense as well, which is why we took even less damage. But that's also why we done a little bit extra damage on the counter. Not only did we crit counter, but we also raised our attack and defense. So, you know, even if you're not getting the 18 key off, which you kind of want to do a lot of the time because, you know, obviously you want to greatly raise your defense for the turn. You know, if you get the 12 key off, you don't raise your defense by much, but you do raise the attack as well, which is very helpful at doing a bit of extra damage on his counter. Who do I want in slot 1? We'll just use VB there. We'll just have VB there. It's not a problem. But honestly, he's doing ridiculously good right now, and now he has type advantage, which is a major benefit about taking him into GT Goku event. So if there's any missions you still need to do, any upcoming missions, and you have the possibility of bringing Year 3 LR EZA Super Vegito, take him. Even if he's floating, right? You know, you don't want to take him if he's not linking with no one or, you know, has hardly any links active. Because even though you know, they do give themselves key, and then when they fuse, they do get the extra key plus 3 with rainbow keys to obtain. At some point, you're going to struggle to get them key unless orb placement is being quite friendly to you. But, you know, if you have the possibility to take them, you know, you have some missions, some category missions to complete, definitely take them. I mean, his value is being shown right now. His damage output is great. The defense, even before they fuse, is fantastic. You know, especially here, you can take advantage of the fact you have a medium chance to dodge, which it's not the most, but luckily for me this time around. I say luckily, but we've been quite lucky in terms of how often he's dodged during this run. But defensively, they're great from literally even before they fuse, especially once you super. Defensively, they are completely fine. Even if they got super attacked, which we've only been super attacked against them once. Actually, this is perfect. We do have a Whis active though, so that's kind of a shame. We have a Whis active with 226k defense. We're also going to greatly raise our defense for the turn as well, which means that super attack is probably going to do next to no damage to him. On top of the fact we also have type advantage. So yeah, this super attack is going to do nothing. This super attack is generally going to do nothing. It still wouldn't have done a lot anyway, again, because of the type advantage. We're going to super first. We're going to greatly raise our defense. We have over 200k defense anyway. 15% damage reduction. But we have all that on top of the fact we have a Whis active. So yeah, this super attack is going to do no damage. But the only super attack he has taken, and this was before they even fused, was of course against SSJ3 Goku, where we have type disadvantage. There's another additional, which means we've raised our defense again. Yeah, we are definitely taking no damage this turn. And there's the 30% attack on the 12 key, which makes his counters do so much more damage. Goku, you're just walking into my trap. Like you're just taking unnecessary damage. But yeah, this is gonna do nothing. Like absolutely nothing. Yeah, with an item active, Super Vegito is literally unstoppable. Like, he's unstoppable. His defense at the start of turn is already good, and the 15% damage reduction on top of 200k defense is nice. It's great. Then greatly raising your defense, yeah, as I said, for the remainder of the turn, he is generally unstoppable. And then getting that additional off is just a little bit extra. His defense was in a fantastic point then. But as I was saying again, before I saw all of that, it was just kind of funny. And Super Vegito, funny enough, is about to finish this off, even though I said he's brought like wet paper, but we do have a Whis active. The only time we got supered was against Super Saiyan 3 Goku, where we had type disadvantage, and before they fused. So no damage reduction, just 200k defense, 30% attacking defense on Super. Defense in a still pretty good spot, but we had type disadvantage. We took 250k. That means any super attacks we would have taken without type advantage, being type neutral, we would have probably taken just over 100k, which in an event like this, with some of the units that are surrounded by and how much health we can have, is really good. And then even there, if we haven't even fused yet, because of the type advantage, again, having 200% defense and raising our attacking defense by 30% for the turn, we still would have taken next to no damage. Honestly, these year 3 EZAs are phenomenal. Yes, they could have done a little bit more with each of them, and I think that's kind of the general consensus, especially Vegeta, because you can't really take advantage of the evade, but they are both very good. Super Vegito, honestly, is ridiculously good, but they're both still very good. But yeah, honestly, that was just generally easy. I even brought weaker units just to make sure like we got the fusion off, but honestly insane. Honestly insane. Let me know what you think down in the comments. I'll see you in the next video, guys, and push.